Just listening to him talk with his awkward laugh, it's like hearing your parents having sex.
Oh, is that what it sounds like?
It's so unappealing.
Behind one door is JD Vance giving this speech. Behind the other door is your parents having sex. You're opening the JD Vance door. I don't care what he's saying. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speech Center. Election season continues to heat up. Can you believe we didn't have a running mate yet when we did this last episode? We're going to be 80 when this is over. We're going to be Joe Biden's age by the time this thing is done, Tim. Joining me once again, it is Tim Miller. Tim, congrats on Team USA. Incredible work by Steph Curry. You watching his Peacock sitcom? I don't even know what that means.
I'm not watching his Peacock sitcom, and I was, I'm a patriot. Love it. I love the red, white, and blue, and Sha'Carri Richardson, and the swimmers in the track. But in basketball, I was rooting for Serbia.
Come on.
Don't tell anybody.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, I was rooting for Serbia. I've got some beef with Kevin Durant. It's a long story. It's kind of a Twitter beef me and Kevin Durant have, but we'll take it offline.
This episode of Speech Center is brought to you by Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol, your first drink for a better tomorrow. On today's show, we've got Tim Walz's first solo campaign speech at a union convention in Los Angeles. Thanks for the invite, Tim Walz. Then we go to JD Vance's rally in Byron Center, Michigan, where he talks inflation and Kamala's failures to a record-breaking crowd of roughly 25 people.
I thought you and Walz were pals. He didn't text you?
No text.
You did that sweet interview where you talked about going to the fair?
Yeah. All right, up first, we go to Tim Walz with his very first...
Wait, hold on. We got to pause. I'm sorry. I'm solo parenting and I have a crying child.
Get in there.
Sorry.
No. If only your enemies could see what a sweet and doting parent that you are.
I'm a loving parent, John. I think that my haters would still get over it, though. I think that they would still call me
I don't
cuck.
think it'll... Well, even more so. First up, we go to Tim Walz with a very pro-worker speech.
Vice President Harris and I have both had the privilege of joining workers on the picket line. And it's why, as governor, I signed one of the biggest packages of pro-worker policies in history into law. In Minnesota, we made it easier for workers to form unions. We strengthened workers' protections. And yes, we banned those damn captive audience meetings for good in Minnesota. Vice President Harris took that work ethic, goes to work every single day to make sure families don't just get by, but they get ahead. She stood on the side of the American workers, and she stood up to the billionaires and fought corporate greed.
I love Tim Walz. I love that guy. He's got such a great vibe. Where are you now? Are you still a right-to-work guy? I can't tell where your politics are.
So here's the thing, okay? This is going to be a strange analogy for you, but this is Speech Center.
It is Speech Center.
All right?
That's right.
And so, to me, Tim Walz is Nikola Jokic. I love Nikola Jokic in real life, but there are a couple of analysts out there that don't love him.
Can you just tell me who it is?
Perkins doesn't like him.
I don't know who that is.
And
who are these people?
He just doesn't like the cut of his jib. And
who is the first person you said?
Nikola Jokic. He's the best basketball player in the world. But the way that he loafs up the court, some people just don't like it. I recognize that Tim Walz, it's working for people. Like, he's doing something that people are responding to. His favorability is high. He seems like a very nice man. I love the story about him with the gay-straight alliance in the 90s, straight out of Dawson's Creek.
Sure.
That's great. That stuff just doesn't do anything for me. Like, my heart is black watching that. It's like, fine, whatever. It's okay.
Look, you obviously don't like the content because of your libertarian core surrounded now by a soft, gooey layer of coconut. But like, he has a great stage presence.
I'm with you. And so, like, I'm changing the analogy to something more in your turf.
Okay.
I've got a colleague. He doesn't like Timothée Chalamet. And I'm like, how can you not? What's not to like? Everything about him is great. His vibe is great. His cheekbones are great. His acting chops are great. His stage presence is great. He's just like, not for me. And that's kind of where I'm at on Tim Walz. I guess, I don't know. I could totally see him in the gym at Mankato High, riling up the kids before a big game, and I'd be like, hell yeah, that's good.
So Walz delivered their populist economic message, and then he went into a contrast with Trump and Vance.
Donald Trump and JD Vance, they see the world very differently than we do. The only thing those two guys knows about working people is how to work to take advantage of them. That's what they know about it. A guy who goes to Mar-a-Lago, and this is a direct quote, he sits there and tells his friends, you're rich as hell and we're going to cut your taxes. I believe him when he says that. But he also turns around and tells workers their wages are too high. I keep bringing this up. Who do you know who's asking to cut taxes on billionaires while stiffing working people? I don't know anybody. And I'll tell you what, I think there's a lot of people think that they're on his side or voting for him, that when you put it to them like that, they start thinking things differently.
He's landed on this device, which he uses in different contexts, which is, who's asking for this stuff? Like at the Republican convention, Tucker Carlson gets up there and he's like, what is a leader? A leader is a man made of meat, and it's a meat man with powers beyond comprehension. And at the end of it, you just want to say, hey man, this is a job about mailing checks and paving roads. Do you want to mail checks and pave roads? You don't want to mail checks? You don't want to pave roads? All right, we're going to go with the people that want to mail checks and pave roads. And I love the way Tim Walz gets at this, because he's just like, they're talking about bathrooms. They're talking about tax cuts for rich people. They're talking about taking away basic rights. Who's asking for this?
That video that he references there of Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and it's always better for campaigns if the video feels like it's like a secret video that somebody's taking of somebody in the crowd. It's somebody in the crowd, and Trump's just like, you guys have all done really well. We're going to take really good care of you. We're going to cut your taxes. I've always thought that video is really damaging to him. And I like that Walz is referencing there. I think it's a sign that they're going to, use it in ads and such. And I like that his sort of non-politician vibe of just like kind of talking about that stuff, like somebody that's on a teacher's salary, on a coach's salary. He's like, what's this guy doing? Like, he's going to give tax cuts to these people that are at this country club I've never been to before? Like, that's crazy, isn't it? Like, I think that we should give tax cuts to you. I like that. I think that's a good mien and a good contrast. And that was my favorite part of the clip.
All right, next up, we have Tim Walz defending his military service.
I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country. And I firmly believe you should never denigrate another person's service record. To anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice.
The way in which it is so pleasant to be behind a campaign that just wants to fucking win. They're focused on what is the most effective way to blunt an argument, not just to deal with it on defense, but to make them go on offense and to say the only thing you should say about someone's service, including your service, JD Vance, is thank you for your service. It takes what was their dumb little pathetic, dishonest hit and makes them fucking weird again. And I love it.
He's like, I'm not being defensive about this. I'm saying thank you for your service. You should say it back. If not, you're a weird asshole. I like that. I like the cussing. My other thing that I like about it is that he clearly does not know how to read a teleprompter in a way that's cute and charming. Mm-hmm. Like several times he's like, am I supposed to be on the right?
He's bouncing. He's bouncing. I love it.
And his inability to read a teleprompter while delivering a tightly designed political punch. That's nice.
It's nice.
I like that.
So much of like Trump's success as an attack dog, it's not what he says. It's what it causes his opponents to do. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, none of the attacks that have been lodged against them, they are not being thrown off their game. They're not being defensive. Trump is not getting to see what he wants so desperately, which is to see people sweat.
Here's some sports talk for you. This is where good momentum comes into play. There's always a debate about, like in sports, about like whether momentum matters and stuff. It's like it does in a way that's like a little bit intangible, which is because the polls keep looking better and better, because the crowds keep getting bigger and bigger, that builds part of the confidence a bit, I think, and hopefully will continue to do so in a way that Kamala Harris doesn't feel like, oh, I have to be defensive about whether I changed my view on Medicare for all 5 years ago. It's like, no, I'm in it to win it. Here's my plan. We're lowering insulin prices for seniors. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're doing popular things. Sorry, I'm in it to win it. I don't care about your attacks. And I think the same is true on the Tim Walz thing. And I do think their positive momentum of the campaign is helping steel them a little bit to just sort of keep rolling.
Yeah, I think that's right. Summer may be halfway over, but it's hot out, and if you want to drink, start with ZBiotics, because then, it makes your next day better. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. We've got live shows in Chicago and Phoenix, and sometimes we like to go out for a drink after the show, and it's always great to start with ZBiotics because then you feel better the next day. Vacations, weddings, birthdays, reunions, there's so much going on. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/speech to get 15% off your first order when you use speech at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/speech and use the code SPEECH at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. All right, now let's go to JD Vance's speech in Michigan, where he goes, I gotta stop doing it, it's so stupid.
Vince?
It's Vance, that's right. I just forget how it's pronounced.
Hamill.
He had a speech in Michigan where he goes straight into attacking Kamala Harris and the Biden administration.
I just can't quite get over how dishonest the American media is about Kamala Harris. The craziest thing, Democratic leaders all across the country, they would say things and the American media would back them up that President Biden, for 3.5 years, he's as sharp as he's ever been. He's sharp as a tack. Remember that? The American media act for 3.5 years like this guy was Albert Einstein. And now they want to tell us that Kamala Harris is the second coming of Abraham Lincoln. We don't buy it. We don't believe it. What the actual record is that she inflicted the American people with the worst affordability and inflation crisis in generations.
First of all, man, speaking of defensive, that was a hit on the media, and to a lesser extent, Joe Biden, and then finally, at long last, lands on a hit on Kamala Harris. And there is nothing more kind of unctuous and off-putting than an angry person laughing, you know?
It's so off-putting. I was thinking about it, and I'm going, just listening to him talk with his awkward laugh, it's like hearing your parents having sex.
Is that what it sounds like?
It's so unappealing. So look at how you're moving. That's how you just squirmed right there. That's how I squirm when I hear him do his, I'm being a dick right now, and it makes me laugh. It gets me excited. I'm going to do a fake laugh about this asshole comment I just made. It's extremely unappealing.
Tim, I agree with you. It is extremely unappealing. I don't think you're telling the truth. You're standing before two doors. Behind one door is JD Vance giving this speech. Behind the other door is your parents having sex. You're opening the JD Vance door. I don't care what he's saying.
Is JD clothed?
Yeah, JD is fully clothed. Eyeliner. He's dressed to the nines. He
doesn't wear eyeliner. Those are his natural eyelashes. Stop. Okay. Everything else about him is wrong. He's got great lashes.
He's in his full gender-affirming performance.
Okay, I didn't say it was. I said it was akin to.
Okay. I'm just saying. I just think.
You're right.
I'm just trying to keep you accountable.
You're right. I'm picking the JD Vance door, but I'm not liking it. I'm not happy about my choice.
Whenever people give wedding toasts, a lot of times they'll start the wedding toast with, "When I heard that Angela and Michelle were getting married, I didn't know what I was going to say when I realized I had to give this toast, and then I started thinking, stop right there. Just give the fucking toast. Don't go through all the fucking pre-roll about what the media gets wrong.
You.
Do the hit. Do the fucking hit."
Yeah, the substance of it is horrible. The substance of the hit is horrible. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody is comparing Kamala Harris to Abraham Lincoln, not even the most avid member of the K-Hive.
Right.
Certainly nobody's comparing Joe Biden to Albert Einstein. And also, like, the media hit is like out of 2004. It's like 2024. You have your own propaganda network. You have there's massive social media feeds. The idea that the Kamala momentum is because of like the nightly news has been a little bit too nice to her over the last 3 weeks is just it's nonsensical. It is just whining. It's just an aggrieved whining. And he's doing it probably in part because like Donald Trump is really sad and annoyed, and he's an old person that watches network TV still from time to time, and he's unhappy that they're being too nice to Kamala, and he's jealous of it, and he's jealous of the Time cover. He thinks she looks pretty, and he thinks that they should have drawn an uglier photo of her. They're just all complaining to each other.
Yes.
It's a loser.
All right, let's see what's next.
Under Kamala Harris, gas prices are up 50%. And I know we're a trucking company. You think truckers benefit when gas prices go up 50%? No. Housing costs have doubled. Grocery prices are up 21%. A record number of Americans are working multiple jobs. The average new car costs nearly $50,000 a year. And this November, my friends, we're going to send the message that Michigan chooses prosperity over poverty, and that we will never accept 4 more years of Kamala Harris. She's out of there.
What'd you make of that clip?
I'm close to opening the door with my parents in it. The more clips you play. I'm not there yet, but I'm starting to look over there. I'm starting to look at the knob.
They've got affordability, immigration, right? Those are their two main actual places where there's weakness that they can find purchase in. What do you make of JD's argument here?
The actual text of it, putting aside the numbers aren't right, is fine. I like that. That's a good message for them. I think they should continue to drive. Just the JD at the trucker place, just the whole pastiche doesn't work for me though. The suit he's in, the truck's behind him like dropping his G's. It just doesn't land for me.
George W. Bush in 2004, he campaigned in this blue button-down with a black checkered pattern. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He looked so comfortable wherever he was in that look. And like whether it was Al Gore or John Kerry, George W. Bush, who again I believe is the second worst president since I've been alive, he seemed comfortable with people, all kinds of people. And
second worst, maybe, but comfortable in his own skin. I always got a big chuckle out of somebody was asking W about something about Gore, and he was just like, he dyes his hair. It's just like that was his criticism. Nothing wrong with dyeing your hair. You want to dye your hair? You do you. I might dye my hair at some point. No promises. But he was comfortable in his own skin. He could just wear a work shirt, have his grays at his temples. And that was something that he had going for him. JD doesn't have that going for him.
Doesn't seem comfortable in his own skin.
He's had 4 or 5 names.
Every time JD Vance uses a political cliche, the cliche quality just jumps out. And it is time to retire the phrase, works hard and plays by the rules. I am sure it polls great. I am sure it jumps off the charts. That is not my problem with it. I don't even know at this point what plays by the rules is meant to be. We live now in a time in which the people that aren't playing by the rules in most people's minds are the wealthiest people and the biggest corporations, and the line is still being used. And I just think it's like due for a rewrite. That's my take.
It's a good rant. Love it. I agree with that. If I ever get back in the campaign game, which I pray to God I never do, I'm cutting that out of every speech.
And one last thing, JD Vance in drag, thoughts?
I thought he looked kind of cute. I thought he looked better in drag than he looks in his suit drag outside the truck stop. And I think he should consider going back to it.
Yeah, he did look comfortable in those photos. If those photos are legit, he looked comfortable. He looked like he was having fun. He looked like he wasn't worried about what people thought. All right, we've got Tim Walz at AFSCME, JD Vance at Two Trucks. Tim, as we always do here on Speech Center, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. Who came out best out of these two speeches, despite your history of libertarian, anti-collectivist, right-wing agitprop?
I just want to say, private sector unions, I'm all for you. Public sector unions, I don't know. The AFSCME speech, not my ideal location for a speech. That said, gonna have to give it to Walz. Didn't one time think about any negative sexual correlations with his speech, and so that gives him a huge advantage over JD Vance.
And what would you expect or hope to see in a Walz-Vance debate?
Can I tell you, as anyone who's made it this far in the video knows, I find JD Vance repulsive in every possible way, and so I don't think that his performance will appeal to me. But I think JD Vance is going to be pretty good on the points. He was a blogger, so he is a nerd. He was an MSNBC pundit and a blogger. So that is a set of skills that me and Lovett have that is not transferable to almost anything. But it is very transferable to a debate because you can remember, your hits. You remember the Oppo book. I think he's going to be very good at knowing all of Tim Walz's weaknesses, doing a little repartee. And so, while he's going to be trying to win on the points, Walz is going to have to try to win on the vibe, right? Just, be aw shucks, be himself, feel authentic, get a jab in here or there. And so I think it'll be kind of an interesting debate, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I watched, I don't know if you saw any of Vance's hits over the weekend on the Sunday shows. Yeah. And it's now hard to see JD Vance without 3 weeks of his public persona being absolutely destroyed. But most people will approach this debate having not been active participants in Coconut and or Weird and or Midwest Princess social media. And I was trying to watch JD Vance in those settings as if I didn't already come to it with a bunch of preconceived notions. And he's still off-putting in all the ways that he can't seem to hide from because he's not being himself. But when he is just making an argument, he is what Trump and Don Jr. wanted him to be, which is an intellectual version of MAGA. Like, he does do that really, really well. Like, that version of him is, I think, more formidable, and I think we have to be careful as we head into the debate to make sure that we have set the expectations as low for JD Vance as they are. Like, we need to remind people that, like, this is going to be his best night, probably, even if Tim Walz, I think, outcharms him. All right, well, that's Speech Center, but we are very excited to say, once again, it's Tim Walz by a country mile over off-putting JD Vance, and couldn't be more thrilled about it. Thanks to reformed blogger, podcast maven, public sector union indifferent, but most importantly, loving parent, Tim Miller, for showing us his softer side today.
Thanks, Lovett. I've always known you've had a softer side underneath there, but I'm happy you got to see it out of me.
As always, please like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Speech Center is a runaway hit, Tim. You know this, right? Speech Center is taken off.
Are people talking
like
about
a
it on the
rocket.
streets?
They are.
Really?
On the streets.
Tucson, Wichita,
yeah,
everywhere?
all those places. Sheboygan, big following in Sheboygan. People in Peoria really enjoing it. Plano, Texas.
I'm just
all
honored
the
to be
cities.
invited.
It is true that the people want more of this, but that's not why
Yeah.
you're here. You're here because I want more of this. And you're here because you want more of this.
Now I'm getting uncomfortable.
All right, well, let's open up door number 3. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time on Speech Center.
Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. That's what you're supposed to say.
I did
like,
it already.
Subscribe,
I
and
already
leave a
said
comment.
that. I did already say that. In fact.